We're doing it.
Wow, look at this mop.
I love it.
How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh man, I'm good. We are having NYCDA an in-house convention weekend. So I just had a class. I'm a little bit sweaty and I'm a lot bit smelly. So fortunate for us that there's a digital wall between us.
We can't smell it. We can't smell it.
Zero smells.
Zero smell.
You're glowing. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm much better.
Yeah?
From like when we first started the quarantine. But yeah. I want to go back.
Right? Emotional peaks and valleys for sure.
We were on it. We were on the journey, but we're back.
We're still on it, my friend.
I know.
Oh, I love Sydney Alley's in here. Some good homies in here today.
Yeah.
Oh, Joe. This is great.
Hey,
okay,
Taylor.
so I understand you have a couple questions for me today.
I have many.
I'm in the hot seat. And the hot seat, by the way, is this really old, kind of vintage, cute chair.
Ah!
Also, that's my armpit. This is the most comfortable place to sit in my house. It is not the
I
dreamiest
love it.
lighting.
The speaker. We had like the backdrop and the lighting.
It was me and the
Okay.
NYCDA pod.
My notebook.
I love this.
I have the questions.
Okay, go.
First question. How have you stayed creatively stimulated during quarantine?
Oh, why do you ask it with the smoldering eyes? How do I stay creatively what? Stimulated?
Stimulated.
Okay. This is a great question. The first answer to my mind is I have a project. At the beginning of the year, I promised myself that I would make a podcast episode every single week for the entire year of 2020. So my creative stimulation comes from solving the problem that is, I don't have a podcast. I don't have a podcast. So I'm stimulated by trying to solve this problem, which is I want to deliver on my project. And
Sure.
podcasts don't make themselves, my friend. So I have to get up and do it.
How's the process for that? How do you approach that every single day? Like, do you go in with a certain like topic, or are you just like free for all? Here we go.
That's a great question. With the podcast, which by the way, I'm going to comment the name of the podcast so that people can find it. With the podcast, it's had a unique start. It actually started as a book. And I only recently decided to turn the book into a podcast because going through publishing and stuff like that seemed like a lot of hard work. Miami Dance Collective, so glad you dig the podcast. Words That Move Me podcast. Great. So the podcast more or less has a structure. I have 153 pages of a book that's written, and I just break those down into little digestible bites. But as I'm sure you can imagine, the current circumstances that we're in are very different than the book that I wrote 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a lot of just like, I journal a lot. I write almost every day. And sometimes a nugget will come up and I'm like, whoa, I have to go deep on that for the pod. Or sometimes I'll take an idea from the book and I'll go a different direction.
Right.
But yeah, that's more or less how it goes. I'm
Yes.
moving myself
I watched
to
it the other day. And I just like love it. Like it just helps me get through the day when knowing that like we're all in this together, that we can move through this like as a collective rather than feeling alone, because it's so easy to be trapped in these four walls.
Oh my gosh, feeling alone. Come on, we're professionals at feeling alone right now because look, that's me. This is me. That's what I've got.
Oh, my mirror's here, but I covered it. But that's me.
Me, myself, and I, and you together, and we
Together.
So yeah, that's really where we're at. That's a great question.
Oh, wait.
Do you mind if I go get my headband? My hair is
Yeah, go get your headband.
You're gonna love it, I think.
Hi, Leah.
It's some more or less leopard print.
Give me
I
leopard.
mean, come on. Am I right or am I right?
Fashion.
Okay, next question. I'm so ready for you.
What is the best advice you can give to dancers who are still developing and training?
Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I had this awesome actually, we did at NYCDA, some of the faculty did a Q&A yesterday, and a similar question came up. The question was, what's the best advice you can give to aspiring professionals? And the advice is the same. Thanks, Joe. The advice is the same. It comes from a mentor and dear friend of mine named Tony Basil, who is 75 years old, and she dances every day. Still dances every day. She turned her garage into a studio, and she trains every single day. And I asked her once, I was like, Basil, do you ever want to not train? Like, do you ever want to not dance? And she was like, all the time. Yeah. And I was like, so what do you do? Like, how do you get over that? And she goes, easy. I just pretend like I'm someone who does want to dance. And I was like, dang.
Yeah.
And so much of it is that mental element, the mind over matter, because where the mind goes, the body will follow. If this gets excited about dance, eventually this gets excited about dance. And it just keeps going.
Yeah, sorry. Especially like now that we're so in, like we're constantly by ourselves and we're always in our head. So trying to like push forward to where our mind isn't being something that is a burden or hindering us, but helping us to move forward and, you know?
Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said too for like, I think for many people, the goal is to come out of quarantine better and stronger. And I'm with that. I'm all for progress. I love progress. But I think it's also okay to make it your one job to simply get through it.
Yeah.
We've got these crazy high expectations. I'm going to come out and sort of like, you know what? Just being healthy, being safe, and being compassionate for yourself and others is enough. If we can come out of it as that, then I think that's enough.
It's also this realization that this all happened so abruptly, and being like constantly working for something like throughout the year. And this is like the height of things. Like this is when people are like, oof, full force. And I get like, I'm totally like, I get that feeling of wanting to come out of this as best as possible. But we also have to know that we are human first, and then dance comes second. So
yeah. I know a lot of people are hurting right now at the, the competition season, because a lot of our self-worth, a lot of the value we place on ourselves comes from the external validations, like the titles and the awards and even the experiences, right? So this is a really awesome time to practice having self-worth without external validation.
Yes.
Easier said than done, man. Yes. Easier said than done.
Oh, I miss you.
I miss you back. We'll get to dance again. I know.
Yes, please. Next question.
Hit me.
Best memory from this season.
Ooh. Actually, and oh, there you are.
Sorry.
I think it was Vegas, in that very odd hotel out near Lake Las Vegas.
I wasn't in Vegas. How was it?
Wait, you weren't in Vegas? Where was what city were you in where we danced Relationship? Anthony Ramos's
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yes.
And it's I don't do this very often, especially not on convention, but it's a male-female partner dance. And it was so much fun to watch you get down, and it was so much fun to just
we switched back and forth too.
To
doing
roll
the girl,
front.
like the girl roll and then the guy roll. Like it was just really interesting how like texture and concept and where it would sit in our bodies, and it was just really nice to just play with that.
I think that was my favorite. NYCD experience, because it's something I don't do very often that went surprisingly well. It was like, oh, this could go so south.
And the seniors are so smart too. The senior.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. This is great. You ask great questions. Keep them coming. Or if anybody out there in the world has questions too.
Any questions?
Okay,
While they're getting their questions.
More, though?
Yes.
Okay, go.
What challenges have you faced mentally?
All of them. Like, one of my favorite mental challenges is like, This one's coming up a lot lately because I'm at home so much. I use food a lot to buffer. And when I say buffer, I mean avoid unwanted feelings. But I also use it when I have really good feelings. So I use it like when I'm really, really happy, I celebrate with food. And when I'm really, really bummed, I distract myself with food. And since I'm home all day around all my food, then I think it's my biggest challenge to not use food as procrastination, to not use food as a reward, to not use food as punishment, but food as fuel. And I'm celebrating this because since quarantine, and this is something I want to keep with me long after quarantine, I found a farmer's market that does a curbside pickup, and the produce is absolutely beautiful, and it's a bag. I feel like Santa with his sack, a bag of food that's bigger than my torso, and I wash it by hand, and I treat it by hand. I store it. However, vegetables are tricky to store.
Vegetables are
Some
tricky.
of them require dry paper towels.
I'm plant-based now.
You're plant-based, so
Yes.
so you need to know about this.
I need to know.
You need to know about this.
Is it coming?
So it's really incredible. Like when I get a head of lettuce, it will have like worms in it and dirt in it. And I treat it, I wash it, I clean it, I store it. It lasts me for like, my husband and I both can live off of one bag of veggies, this big bag, for like 10 days.
Nice.
And so I've been preparing food with care and touching it. And it's like really changed my relationship to food. So I think that's kind of this awesome bonus that I've found in this craziness.
Yeah, and with that, like, how would you change your approach on overworking? Because it can get really easy to overwork yourself because you feel like you're not doing enough. We had the teachers, we had the instructors, but now we are our own teachers. So how do we not overwork ourselves?
Well, this is an excellent question, and be prepared to apply this for your entire life. Because after school, unless you plug straight into a company, there is no one systematic way to be a dancer. Yeah. So from the day you graduate till the rest of your life, you will be your own boss, and you'll need to be good at this skill because this is what it is for the rest of time. I have a pretty big appetite for work. I love to be busy all the time. And for me, the feeling that the cue that I need to thin out my workload is when I feel overwhelmed that freezes me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get stressed, but stress is tricky. Stress can actually propel you.
Right.
You probably know this, right? When you're stressed about a test, you really work hard to do well on it. But there's a specific breed of being overwhelmed that makes me lock up and nothing happens. And when I feel that overwhelmed, that's when I know it's time to start saying no, start phasing things out, start taking more baths, and being compassionate to myself.
No, and feeling stuck, like that feeling of being stuck, like where do you just go to dance, like as an outlet, or do you like, what else do you do?
Jamaii, I'm so glad you asked this question because I did just do a podcast episode on this. It's called The Process of Processing. I think it's episode 18. I think The Process of Processing. And it's where I talk specifically about feeling stuck. So stuck, and actually this is a good thing too. I'm going to school for life coaching to become trained at Master Natl, because I find that a lot of the times the portal to the body is not the body itself.
Right.
It's up here. So I'm learning a lot about up here, and I was working with a coach and I told her I'm feeling stuck. And how do you know when it's time to like move yourself along? Like, come on, self, let's go, get it together. And how do you know when to sit with it and when to be with your feeling stuck? And she was like, well, tell me about feeling stuck. Like, where does it live in your body? And I was like, everywhere. And she's like, okay, where? And it was like my blood. And then she kept asking questions about me explaining my stuckness until I was eventually in tears. And this sounds scary, but I love crying. It was great. So I was explaining my physical state to the point that my blood started to boil and hot tears coming out of my face. And guess what? I was no longer stuck. It was amazing, but I had to really dig into and look at stuck from all different angles to understand it. And then it was gone.
We're learning so much about our own bodies and our own selves, which is kind of scary. Like the other day I was just sitting in the room like for an hour just thinking like, I'm with myself too much right now. We're a lot of communication or just like validation. That's all external, and we never get the chance to be kind of a little selfish, you know?
Or do we?
Or do we?
That's all up here, my friend. You absolutely do. And you can be selfish and selfless. Actually, one of my favorite questions that I ask myself, like almost daily basis, is how can I prioritize myself so that I have more to offer others?
Mm-hmm.
I have a very selfish way of living and training. It's very self-focused so that I have a lot to offer.
Right.
I pull and I digest and I eat and I pack myself with as much value as I can so that I can hand it off. And you're absolutely right. That's what's happening right now is we're getting better at being with ourselves. Mm. And I think actually to answer Sydney Alley asked a great question. I think the future of performing arts is going to be very rich because of what we're all going through right now and the fact that we're going through it together. Historically speaking, after every recession, there comes a renaissance. Mm-hmm. And that's when the people with the ideas, when the people with the skills, when the people with a voice and artistic ability make the real changes. That's when those people have power. So I think that's on the other side of all of this. Yeah. Period. Put a pin in that.
Next question. Oh my gosh. Sorry. This is just amazing.
It's going well. I could talk to you for hours, by the way. I do want to make sure.
Are you okay?
Professional. Got to be. Can't be late for class. Can't be late for Zoom class. You can't even blame it on traffic or parking.
Zoom classes. How have you been approaching that? Because I know it's really hard to like. I just finished school and I know the teachers are constantly saying, I know we want to get corrections, which really helps, even if it's not a one-on-one correction. Like, how do you deal with like this back and forth communication that we really need as students?
So here's my model, and I've been teaching with a handful of studios and then on my own for, small groups of invite-only type of friendly bits. But I've learned a lot because I'm a person that loves feeling technical competency. I've learned a lot about Zoom, the software. For hours, I just poked around in there by myself until I understood what everything was. And then I started playing with other materials. So I got myself a little head mic. And
the famous head mic.
The Britney. And it has a wireless adapter, so I can be out here in my dance space and not shouting. Mm-hmm. It sounds okay, to be honest. It's not the best option, but it's something. And that's just on the in-Zoom front. But my class model, I actually send out the combo tutorial ahead of time, like a whole week in advance, a YouTube link, so that you can hear and see the correct timing. So I have everybody learn the combo on their own time in their own YouTube world. Mm-hmm. And then when we get into the Zoom conference, it's all about me watching, them asking questions. It's all about interaction.
So it's like workshop based.
Yeah. And cool. I'll give prompts, we'll have focuses. And the focuses, by the way, are almost never related to timing because it's just so inconsistent. It's very hard to tell if people are, it's probably on time for them, but looks off for me. I'm not going to waste 45 minutes talking about timing in a class where timing is so inconsistent. So I talk about all the other things: performance, placement, texture, dynamics, imagination, emotion. You know me, I could talk about those things for hours on end. So my Zoom classes are about everything except for musicality.
Right.
And I just have to trust that people are doing that on their own with the YouTube link that I sent. So they're getting familiar, they're still exercising the timing bit, but that's just not something we talk about really in class.
Someone said, big fan of your podcast, all caps.
Hey, I love that. I'm glad. I don't plan on stopping, you guys. I plan on doing this forever. So yeah, that's sort of my Zoom approach. How's it been going in school? Do you feel like it's working?
We finished on
Oh, you're
Friday.
done.
Yeah, we finished on Friday. Freshman year over. Sad,
Congrats.
but thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
the Zoom classes, it's been based off of like what level you're in. So we have different ballet levels, we have different gram levels. So like most of it has been off of like what level you're in. And sometimes we have community classes with the whole division, and that's nice. But I think, like you were saying with timing, because we have live musicians, so it's sometimes the music is off, and then we're off, and then the teacher is on it. It's just a lot happening. But I think the biggest thing that we started finding is that we're all doing this together. Like having it on gallery view, like seeing everyone just moving together. I think that's what drove the class forward in a more efficient way.
Yeah. Here's one thing I started doing that my students are like love hating. As the host of most of my classes, I'll be the spotlighted video.
Mm-hmm.
But once we start dancing more, I like to be watching. So it's just my big old melon going like this. So instead of that, I like to spotlight dancers in the class. So they'll pop up big on their own screen. And it means everybody will always have a reference. Unless the person that gets spotlit, unless that person chokes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If that person, in seeing themselves, and when you're in a room by yourself with no other dancers around you, you have no context, it's so hard to get back on the rails. So that's another thing that we're just actively practicing in class, is I'm fully trying to throw people off by changing who's the spotlight and seeing how well we do at sticking with it. Mm-hmm. It's so much fun.
It is. And also like the intimate quality of it. Like we're all in each other's homes, like like you're in my home right now.
Hi.
You know? Hi, welcome, Miami, Florida. And I think that's so, it's amazing, but it's also like really, it's beautiful to just be connected to people through this platform that, quite honestly, I thought was kind of, iffy, like, because media
kind of a disconnect.
Like technology and media can be very overwhelming at times, but I think this is the perfect time to find out how we can use it positively, and I think it's beautiful.
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
It's all up here. Like the socials are the same. I mean, a few tiny features have changed. Mm-hmm. But social media is the same. All of a sudden now it is the thing that connects us. Versus before, I knew a lot of the popular opinion was that it's ruining the youth, it's ruining how we train, kids are so competitive, kids are losing their ability to connect with each other, and now our tune has changed. We're all about connecting on social media. Yeah. And I think the only thing that's changed is our thoughts about this. I think it's very cool to be seeing the internet used for what it was intended for, which is connecting people and solving problems. Yeah. And we're doing it.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. Does anybody else out there in the room have any questions or comments? I'm going to have to jump off soon. Today.
I have, so actually there's a senior showcase happening right now for the Juilliard seniors at dance. So I'm like kind of watching that right now too on the side, but like it's
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is their last.
Hopefully that's being maybe screen recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a lightning round for you before you go. I'm not gonna let you go easy. Nope. Ready? Favorite color?
Silver.
Favorite style of dance?
Walking.
Barefoot or socks?
Socks.
Socks or shoes?
Socks.
Morning or night?
Morning.
Lyrical or contemporary?
Lyrical.
Okay, Tyler Peck or Sarah Mearns?
How dare you? I'm going to go with Tyler Peck because she was an awesome guest on my podcast. We had a really great interview.
Dogs or cats?
Is there even a question? Dogs.
Dogs. If you
Cats.
had to be stranded on an island with one faculty member, who would it be?
You can't do that.
Just one.
You can't do that.
Just one. Go.
Do I have to answer that?
Yes.
Okay. Don't tell anyone. And partially it's because I'm teaching with her in this in-studio class that we're doing. Kim Craven, y'all.
Okay.
Kim Craven is so dynamic and so funny and so resourceful and such great taste. And did I mention funny? And just classy. I feel like Kim and I could be like toothless and like dirty and really smelly and still somehow be pulled together.
I love it. I love that. Joe said Tony.
I feel awful. I can't believe I feel that's a hard question. You shouldn't ask that question. But I stick by my answer. And I'm gonna tell her.
Instagram or Facebook?
Oh, Instagram all day, even though they're the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. You have 30 seconds till your spaceship leaves. What or who are you taking?
My husband and my computer and my external hard drive.
Why?
I have a lot of projects.
You're so good at this. What? Okay, this one is a hard one. Seaweed Sisters or Words That Move Me?
It's not even that hard. Seaweed Sisters.
Yes.
Yeah. I think because Words That Move Me is solitary. It's really me in my closet talking to myself into a microphone. And although that is definitely becoming a strength of mine right now with all the by myselfedness, something about chemistry, something about more heads are better than one.
Right.
That is the truth. So seaweeds for life.
Seaweed. Okay, last one.
Go.
Earth or literally anywhere else?
Earth. I'm going to stick to what I
Earth.
know. I'm going to stick to what I know. I'm sure I could have found a very lovely place out there somewhere, but maybe there'd be, I don't know. I don't stick with what I know.
We gotta stick with our tribe, even though we're all so divided and so isolated right now. I think it's really important to just like stay positive during this time. And I really enjoyed being here with you today because you are such a light and such an inspiration to me. And I really love you and all the faculty that you guys are really pushing through. So thank you.
Thank you so much. You are a light in my day, bright and sunshiny.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, dig into that, everybody. You lucky dogs. That was a fun one.
That was fun.
Don't be a stranger, my friend. You know how to reach me.
Yes.
Bye.